cause the tea don't stop. She don't miss nothing, got the scoop on lock. Spilling all the tea while it's still too hot. Lakeysha Keysha, queen of the plot. Hit that bell cause the tea don't stop. Hit that bell cause the tea don't stop.
Hey guys, how's everybody doing? So I have not had the opportunity to get into the kenyamoore confessional. And let me just say this, and I'm going to keep saying it because I know, sometimes, different people watch the videos, and I know kenyamoore has a special kind of fan. But let me make sure y'all know I am really not a kenyamoore fan. But in not being a kenyamoore fan, I can still speak truthfully and honest. I'm not one of those people that because I may not support a person, everything that comes out of my mouth is going to be bad about that person. I'm just going to speak what I feel. Now, let's get into, kenyamoore's confessional, because I believe that she made a lot of very interesting points. I think a lot of what she said made a lot of sense. And I don't want people to discount what she said just because y'all don't like her, because, you got the Kenya liker, like the Kenya likers, y'all like Kenya, and then we got the Kenya haters. Now, I'm not either or, I'm just not a fan of Kenya. But in all honesty, when I see Kenya in this confessional, it makes me actually think of her a little bit different, because now I'm starting to think, okay, she was playing her villain role. But I want to get into what Kenya said in this particular video, and I'm probably going to fast forward it a little because I'm sure you all watched it. I just want to talk about specific points of this. And I like this part, so let's get into it.
Oh, okay. Got it. Okay, I'm being serious. Okay. They try to rig the game, but they cannot fake influence. They, you know who they is, tried it, girl, tried to rig the game, meaning, hey, we're going to try to make you think this over here. You cannot fake influence. And I am influential. Hey,
Okay, and y'all, we can't deny the woman is influential. Again, if y'all don't like her, you ain't gotta like her, but let's just talk about some of the things that she said that was absolutely truthful. Now, this entire time, it has, kind of been told to us, Kenya showed the picture. She did show the pictures, but what we're going to learn is Kenya's story on what actually happened. Now, this is one of the things that she did say, and I've been telling y'all forever that Porsha is a liar. And I mean, if y'all pay attention, everybody's saying the same thing. Let's get into what Kenya said with regards to Porsha. Now, Porsha has started a YouTube channel, and she gonna lie to y'all to get y'all to come over there. The question y'all should be asking yourselves is, why would you need to go to Porsha's YouTube channel to find out what's happening on Real Housewives of Atlanta? Does that make any sense? She would actually need to show that on Real Housewives of Atlanta, which is clear, that you guys just want to go over there because you want to, and that's fine, but don't be dumb. She's not telling you anything about Real Housewives of Atlanta because it would be a breach of contract. She's lying to y'all. So let's get into what Kenya said.
One of these housewives who is still on the show is the one who gave Kenya a big part of that nude information.
So number one, that's a lie. That's a lie. That's a lie.
Again, I believe Kenya. Don't got to be a Kenya supporter or a Kenya fan, but I believe Kenya. Porsha is a liar, and I've been telling y'all this forever. Kenya said that the pictures did not come from whoever Porsha is saying. She's simply trying to get y'all to come over there. Obviously, you know, the more y'all come, the more money she makes, but she's giving y'all fake and false information. Guys, she's on a show. If she could film the show and then come to YouTube and talk about it, that would make sense, because if she then scamming the network, she would be fired. So that is just simply not true. Now, some of y'all had a problem with Kenya due to her antics on the show. And I got to be honest, I'm one of them, because I'd be like, this girl be doing too much. And one of the things that people said is, wait a minute, Kenya, you're complaining about a pow pow when you actually did it to Phaedra. She did not do the same thing to Phaedra. Me joking about a pow pow with my friend is different from me telling you to your face, I'm going to pretty much go get it if you keep giving me what you're giving me. So let's hear what Kenya had to say.
Comfort in my own home. I was joking around with my bestie, which I always do, my very best friend, Brandon DeShazer. We were having a dispute on the show with Phaedra, and I was in my closet and I brought out one of my firearms, and I'm like, oh, do I have to use this on Phaedra tonight? Giggling, ha, 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 he. Phaedra was not around, nowhere to be present. Phaedra never saw it. I never said it in any threatening way. I was not upset. You cannot compare apples to oranges. If you want to do that, does Phaedra sitting on the reunion couch with her taser ready for me count? Okay, moving on.
So she addressed that because that was going around that particular episode. And, you know, if you ask me, I feel like Bravo has something to do with it, but it's not the same. It really isn't. Like, you guys have to be open-minded. Just because you don't like a person or you don't like their antics or whatever it is you don't like about Kenya, let's just be truthful in our commentary. I don't like when people, you know, give commentary and you know, about a person and you can tell they don't like that person. I know y'all think that I don't like Quad, but to be honest, I don't like her or dislike her. I just be speaking on what I know. And, you know, sometimes it's just commentary, what I feel just based on watching the show. Now, for this particular part, I want to talk about this because if you have watched Kenya, you know her antics and the shit that she does. Now, people have been saying the situation between Kenya and Britt with regards to her ring was not a shady moment for Kenya. She was simply trying to understand, because in all honesty, when the girl Britt explained it, I was thinking that was her second husband too. So Britt girl, either you don't know how to communicate, but to us, it seemed like you was just coming for Kenya because you needed a moment. Now let's get into what Kenya had to say.
Clearly a made-up issue. If someone has an engagement ring on and not a wedding band, not the other way around, because if you just have on one ring and it's just a circular ring, that's usually a wedding band. Now, you could choose to wear whatever you want to wear on your hand. No one's saying that. I was confused at what she was saying about it being a new ring or a different ring, or her second ring is actually what she said. I'm like, oh, you've been married before? I don't know this girl. I never seen her before in my life. So again, you're wearing an engagement ring. I'm assuming that either you're engaged or you're I don't think you could be anything else. I think my fans know and I'm being shady. I think they call me the shade assassin for a reason. That wasn't shady.
I have to agree. Based on what I saw, I didn't think that was shady, because I've saw Kenya shady and that simply isn't it. What I got, and I'm going to say it again, it seemed like Kenya was really trying to be away from her. And we're going to just kind of, you know, do the commentary on this video because she's going to explain that. Now, let's get into this part right here. Actually, I can just let it play out to there. So what Kenya is going to mention is she's going to go into the hug situation. But what she said is, I don't hug people. It didn't really have anything particular to do with Britt. It's just, I don't like hugging people. And listen, I'm kind of like that too, because she ain't lying about the transferring of energy and just hugging people that you're really not familiar with. So let's get into what Kenya had to say about the hug.
We know what my shady looks like. Let's move on. It wasn't shady. So after I saw her and, we had the whole moment again about the hug was a very awkward. I don't like to hug. If you see me out in public, I will probably never hug you because I do believe people transfer energy to you and you have to really kind of know someone and know where they're coming from to hug them. So I don't really hug people that I don't know.
Now, she addressed that. And here's the deal. You can't force nobody to hug you if they don't want to hug you. And frankly, do they really need to give you an explanation as to why they don't want to hug you? Now, for me, that's giving weird. You know what I mean? Like if I motion for a hug to somebody and they don't look like they motioning back, guess what I'm going to do? Move on. So I don't understand why that was such an issue for the girl Britt. It seemed weird. Now, what we did not see is there, obviously the show is edited. So I, again, don't believe Kenya had a problem with this chick because in this audio recording, you can hear Kenya calling Britt some type of Barbie. It did not seem like there were any issues. Kenya actually stated she actually did hug Britt, not that first time, but at some point, a few times she hugged her. But Kenya also said is that she noticed this girl had bad energy. I have never met her up front, in person, and it comes through on the TV as she has bad energy. I can feel it just by looking at her.
Barbie, you look amazing.
Barbie.
How are you? Really see her, the ball mom, and then I'm like, oh, you look so beautiful, like a ball mom Barbie. You look amazing. How are you? Hi. I hugged her then, hugged her when I saw her another time, hugged her at the dinner.
That was a pat. That wasn't a hug.
That's a hug without getting makeup on me. And she was complaining every step of the way. And I'm like, this girl has very bad energy, but I paid it dust and I just went on to have.
And I think the paying it dust was the problem because we know Kenya can get in there and do what she does. But for some reason, she wasn't feeling it. And she said, I paid her dust. Think about it. If you're trying to get somebody attention and they paying you dust, depending on your self-esteem, you may take that as an issue. And I just simply feel like that was more of an issue. I've been watching Kenya for years. Obviously, we don't see everything, but I feel like this girl had another issue. Now, in the upcoming clip, what I fast forward that I'm going to show y'all is that, it's amazingly that Kenya is saying this because I said, did Britt want the villain role? Like, what is her, what's her problem? Because we know that Kenya has always had that role. So I was trying to figure out, like, where was Britt going with this? It just seemed like her attitude, it wasn't working out. So let's get into what Kenya had to say about the role that Britt wanted and what she promised production.
I think that when she was interviewing for Real Housewives of Atlanta, she wanted the villain role. She wanted to come after me because she felt like, okay, well, Porsha wasn't there at the time. I was, right? And I believe that she made them promises that she was going to come after me. She was going to be this girl that could read, this girl that was doing all this, And when she met me, Porsha flushed this out. She was surprised and thrown off that I was so nice because I am nice. I don't really bother people unless they bother me. We know I retaliate. We know that's what I do. I'm not saying it's always right, but I'm not going to let anybody run over me. And I have no reason to not like someone that I don't know. And I was always nice to the girls. The point is, I think she overpromised what she would do on the show. The first 3 weeks of filming, she was exceptionally boring. There was nothing outstanding about her. She didn't come in. She wasn't dressed in designer clothes from head to toe. Her husband wasn't particularly interesting. Like, no, not trying to throw shade in the husband. Sorry about that. But there was just nothing in the group scenes that I saw her in that made me think, oh, that's a star baby. I was actually more captivated by Kelly and Angela.
Okay, guys, let's kind of like sum that up. Britt had no designer clothes. Now, designer is not everything, but that is why we watch this show. So why is this chick on here? Yesterday, she showed us that she was trying to buy all these expensive cars, but yet, girl, you don't even own a knockoff. I mean, where is your designer? Again, it's giving dusty. It's giving, again, your house. What's going on with your house? Something about this chick ain't adding up. Her husband looked like why is he there? So I am totally getting Kenya. And again, if guys, when you are, talking about what a person said, just because you don't like them, you can take the parts that you think are okay and just talk about those. But I'm not going to sit here and not acknowledge the stuff that she's saying that I feel is absolutely right, because I'm just watching the show. Her husband is giving dusty. Her house is giving dusty. In a lot of the scenes, she was still giving dusty, because I'm just like, what is so captivating about this girl? She has a messed up personality. I don't understand why she's here. I understand Kelly. I understand Shamia. I understand Angela. I understand a lot of the other ladies, but I am not understanding where this chick fits in and why the hell is she here. Now, let's get into that age thing, because of course, now she's saying, I was a child, or the picture that Kenya showed, I was a kid. So let's kind of get into that, because to me, it seems like she's trying to bury Kenya, because we didn't hear that before. Now, all of a sudden, all of this stuff is being said. And let's get into what Kenya had to say.
And I'm not even going to open that can of worms, because my whole question and line of questioning would be completely different from everybody else's. I would want to know, if you're going to make us daily, you need to prove, because we already know you're capable of lying, right? Excuse me 1 second. Okay. Wow. Another Google alert. Okay, well, we'll get to that. I don't understand why any person would come on reality TV when they have done things in the past or are currently doing things that they don't want to be found out. Why? And then to give someone a reason to expose you. In the words of Samuel L. Jackson, am I the only sane motherfucker here? Like really? Am I the only sane person in the room? Why? Because they're so egotistical.
Now, in that clip, she kind of addressed what she was talking about is the age thing. Now you're a minor. If you are, unless you're coming with facts, Kenya is saying, is this another lie? Because we know when people intend to smear you and bury you, they just pile on lie after lie after lie.
Internet, out of your own words. Okay,
I'm sorry. I gotta kind of back.
They don't think they'll be found out.
So we're gonna get back into the part I skipped it. That Britt admitted, and this is what I'm saying, y'all. Kenya was spot on, and of course, she, not saying that she don't do stuff, but the girl said out of her own mouth that she scrubbed the internet. If she scrubbed the internet, what she scrub it for? It is going, to what Kenya said. Kenya said she got the picture off internet. The girl said, I scrubbed the internet. Girl, you got to make this lie make sense, because it is unfolding, Britt, and you are not being honest.
Like, okay, wow. You paid to scrub the internet out of your own words. Okay. Well, they left some dust in the corner. And over there in behind there too. A lot of people say that I had never taken accountability for anything. And that's simply not true. And I went on Tamron Hall. I was promoting my daughter.
So I'm going to go past this, y'all. She's going to talk about, taking accountability, and y'all be the judge if you feel like what Kenya did was accountable. I mean, I feel like I feel like she did say sorry, but saying sorry and being sorry are two totally different things. But I feel like when you get into it with somebody, sometimes you're not always sorry. You may be, I feel like Kenya may be sorry for the manner that she did it in. And that happens because I don't feel like Britt was sorry either. I feel like Britt apologized because that's what she was told to do. Now we're going to get into the part where, Kenya talks about going to the network. She talks about, I believe, don't quote me on it, but I believe she said she made a police report. Let's get into it.
To CVS or Sally. So they all have different products, but we're also going to be back on Amazon. So check it out there too. Kenyamoore hair care. We're going to get into even more receipts. Okay. I'm going to be answering questions that you guys have submitted. And don't forget, like, comment, and subscribe. Because if you don't, you won't get any notifications when I drop something new or when the juicy gossip hits the net first. You hear it from me first, right here.
People are saying, why didn't you go to the producers if you were so afraid?
The answer is I did. I did go to producers. Number one, when we were there, Porsha and I stayed back while everyone was leaving, and Britt Eady was irate. She was yelling and screaming, and it was then that I heard her say the following words. That's why I keep a for like you. Let me repeat that. You didn't hear it. I heard it. It didn't make the edit. That's why I keep a for like you. Yelling and screaming as she's going.
And guys, I just want to jump in there. I do believe that she said that. I believe she said it because everything else has fallen into place. We got to, go with the facts, y'all. Britt said since earlier this year that she never said this. Now, how did you not remember that you said this? But now when it's edited, you have to admit and say, I forgot. So if you forgot you said that, girl, it seems like you're lying. So I believe she did say it, and I believe that part was edited exactly the way Kenya is describing it.
Going out, I heard things knocking around. Like I didn't know what was going on. And I immediately went to the showrunner, the executive producer, and I said, what is going on? Why is she talking about what is happening? Like Porsha can tell you that. She saw the reaction on my face. She saw that I was.
And guys, let's jump into that. We saw Kenya's reaction, and I was wondering, I said, okay, what did we miss? Because I saw Kenya just not want to be bothered, and she kind of left. So we know that Kenya will go toe-to-toe, overboard. She will drag you. She will do all of that. But what we saw was Kenya backing down. And some of y'all was like, Kenya seemed like she was scared. So the reason that Kenya probably felt like that is because if you're introducing a pow to a situation that it doesn't need to be in, we are at work. You can understand then why she was backing down. And then you got the girl's husband there. She doesn't know what to expect. Keep in mind, she's going to explain, I don't know this girl. This is pretty much somebody off the street. This is not like this is a cast member that I've worked with in the past.
Was visibly shaken. And I was like, just trying to figure things out. So I did go to the producer. Not only did I go to the producer then, I also went to the production company that night, explained what happened, and said, I don't know what's going on. We're 3 weeks into filming, and this girl we don't know is threatening to unalive me. I've been on the show for 12 seasons. I have never once had anyone threaten me with a. I have not ever had anyone allude to unaliving me. So I took it seriously because it's one thing if, listen, it would never be right. But if a Porsha or, even a Drew or somebody that we know that has something to lose. Did you hear me say that? If it was someone that we already knew that we had been filming with for years and we know that they have something to lose, maybe I would have taken it differently. But when someone you don't know, who basically, in my words, like you just, you found off the street, is doing all of that. You guys weren't there. You do not know how intense it got. It got so intense. So I did make my complaint. Well, I went to the police before, and honestly, I'm the only cast member there that's ever been physically attacked. Whether you say I deserved it.
And I thought that was a good segue because y'all got to understand, people have trauma. We all have trauma. So we saw the situation with Kenya and Porsha years ago. So regardless to if y'all feel like Kenya should have been dragged off that couch or not, what she's saying is, I remember that. Like, I don't know what to expect. Like, I remember, what happened before. So y'all got to understand that there is trauma, and she went through a major thing on television where she was dragged off of the couch. Now, in this segue that we're going to move into, and I mentioned it already, Britt said she did not have a pow pow. She said that. Well, I'm sorry. She said she didn't say that. She didn't say it, but we know she did because we heard it in the edit.
That wasn't about the neighborhood. When you try to change the narrative to make it benefit you because of your inaction, that's rigging the game. You're rigging the game. You clearly rigged the game against me. Listen, I'm going to leave it right there. I did what I was supposed to do. And I take a lot of umbrage to someone now saying that they didn't have a gun. And so somehow that's supposed to absolve them from every.
Okay, guys. So with this part, she's going to go into her interview with Andy and pretty much say that, hey, how are we going to talk about you not having, a pow pow? Weeks later, it was 3 weeks later. So how do we conduct the investigation on something that happened 3 weeks ago? So Kenya is basically saying that Andy is full of shit.
Rig the game. Let's go back to this whole Watch What Happens Live interview where Andy asked her, did she have a gun? And she said, oh, no, I didn't have a gun. Well, I have proof otherwise. Nobody checked bags when we're filming. Nobody checked cars when we're filming.
Now, with this particular part, Kenya is saying, in so many words, don't sit up there and say that she didn't have one because you really never even checked this girl. You're saying that she didn't have one based on something that happened 3 weeks after she made that particular threat to me. Now, Kenya goes into saying how she escalated this to HR. She goes into saying how she actually made a police report, and I'm going to let it play here.
You going to HR and the police. If that happened on Beverly Hills, you think she would be in jail or punished or out of a job? You think if she had said that to Kyle or Teresa?
So pretty much what Kenya is saying is that old racism. And y'all, I'm going to say this, and I ain't going to take it back, but Nene Leakes said this exact same things, this exact similar thing. Kenya goes into talking about when Kimzolciak left, they gave her whole show, whole new show. She goes into the White Housewives, how they're treated. She mentions, I believe it was the Jersey Housewives. I don't watch that show, so I don't know very much about it. But this is the deal. Y'all don't stick together because had you would have stuck with Nene, maybe this wouldn't have been happening to you. What y'all fail to realize is they don't stick together. So what ends up happening is they get picked off one by one. But if you stick together as a group, none of this probably would never be happening. But Kenya went on a tour against Nene as if Nene was her employee. I would have stayed out of that because look at what is happening to her. Look at what's happening to her. She goes into saying that she was invited and then uninvited to the reunion. She goes into saying, as if her history is being erased. Who does that remind y'all of?
Going around playing victim. They were just going about their business and find another target. That's that. You want the truth? That's the truth.
Do you now feel that your retaliation allowed the new girl to trick you out of your spot?
Ooh, I don't think there's any such thing. I already had a spot. How can somebody trick? It wasn't a spot up for grabs. Like nobody snatched a peach. Everybody had a peach. So nobody tricked me out of the spot. So that does make sense.
Do you feel like Cynthia threw you under the bus and it's Team Britt?
I'm not going to talk about Cynthia.
People want to know how much you make a season, honey.
How much I make a season? Well, I mean, I don't talk about money. When it comes to like my own money, I see a lot of crazy reports saying like my net worth is $800,000. My house is worth $3 million. Like, how is my net worth $800,000? Like, I own that much in cars. Like, just stop. Like, I think it's taggy to talk about money, so I'll just leave it at that. But I think it's decent to say that I make more than the girls that are on the show now. Oh, thank you. Saved by the bell. Saved by the bell.
Will you attend the reunion?
Will I attend the reunion? I haven't been invited to the reunion. In fact, I was invited and then disinvited a few months ago. The disrespect is insane. You know, from me being someone who has always loved Real Housewives of Atlanta and always wanted to see them win, to being shut out, not given an opportunity to apologize the same way that they gave that grace to someone else on the show. I think it's really odd, right? To be erased from history of the show, to not be in the opening credits, to not have confessionals. When KimZolciak left the show, she got a whole new show. She was in the confessional. She was a peach holder. You got girls taking glasses and knocking each other upside the head with real glasses on Jersey. You've had people talking about porn on Jersey. You've had people exposing, a real life revenge porn case on Vanderpump Rules. They're working. They haven't been made to look like a scumbag or a villain. Really? That's how I'm treated? That's pretty bad, I would say. So I don't anticipate an invitation. Yeah, I don't see that.
Why don't you promote the salon more?
You know, I've always been struggling with building a team. That's why I always admired Andy so much, because she has this awesome team. She has an amazing team and she totally gets it, but you need help. And so when I'm just building out the salon and I'm out of all this money, $400,000, I'm fighting with the landlord about giving me my little $80,000 back in my little.
Okay, guys, so Kenya goes into basically saying that she has pretty much gotten the Nene treatment. We're going to call this the Nene treatment. Again, if they would stick together, I don't think half of this would be happening. Unfortunately, our Black people like to compete against each other and, instead of standing with each other, because if they would have stood with Nene, I believe they thought that maybe they would be, receive less opportunity. But if I can just go against her, they would like me more. So, unfortunately, Kenya has really dug a hole for herself. She goes into saying how Kandi has a team. And I'm going to say this. Kandi has a team because Kandi pays her team. You can't have a team if you don't want to pay people. A lot of these celebrities, they want you to probably do stuff for free, or they just don't want to invest. Kandi has a team because she has decided in order for her to obtain the success that she wants, she is going to get a team. Kenya could have did the same thing. She could have paid for a team to promote her salon, to do the social media marketing for her salon. But again, this all takes you, and that dedication to the team. Like, you have to pay people. Nobody is going to work for free. And that is just my take on it. That is, the difference in, Kandi. She has her team. She's been paying her team, still have her team, but people want to to take the cheap route out and wonder why they don't have that level of success. And that's just my take on it. So y'all let me know what you all think with regards to this Kenyamoore situation. I just feel like that in so many ways, Kenya did play herself. I do believe that the network is partially, responsible. But what I would like for these ladies to stop thinking is that they are not replaceable. They can be replaceable. These are jobs. Kenya probably had a hefty salary being, one of the longest, I believe, standing housewives. But to think that she was not replaceable, she saw this with Nene. I mean, she saw this with other housewives. You have to build your structure outside of a job because you can be released from a job. So I don't know what y'all think, but let me know in the comments.
She don't miss nothing, got the scoop on lock, spilling all the tea while it's still too hot. Lakeysha Keysha, queen of the plot, hit that bell, 'cause the tea don't stop.